Hello, everyone. Simon is here with AvaTrade, and I'm welcoming you back to our weekly trading plan. And I hope that you're enjoying your weekend. And of course, I hope you had a great week in general and in trading as well. It wasn't an easy week. We'll be talking a little bit about the past week as well. And for those of you who are new, just a few words. The weekly trading plan webinar just came up as an idea to create a structure for us to go through the markets, to go through fundamental technical things, and make up a plan for the week. That's it, pretty much. Um, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Simon Friedman. I'm a senior account manager at AvaTrade. I have experience of over almost 22 years in trading, and I was trading as a proprietary trader back in New York. And after that, I was mentoring, educating, and currently working with AvaTrade with the customers. And the agenda of today, we'll be talking about indices, stocks, commodities, and Forex as usual. And we'll be talking in general about the big picture and then going back into the trading platform and going through the markets. Here you can subscribe to our channels at Telegram, at Twitter, and YouTube is a great source of information and education that all the time is being updated. And of course, this webinar is also will be posted on YouTube as a recording. And before we go any further, I just want you to take a look at the risk warning. And if you have any questions or you need more information, you can visit at avatrade.com to get a full disclosure statement. Okay, let's move on. So in general, before we go into technical parts and everything specifics, this is something that I just took a screenshot from one of the websites, and it's actually talking about if you were curious what happened last week. And I'm just going to read it really quick. Fed Chair Jerome Powell said April 21st during the panel discussion hosted by International Monetary Fund in Washington that the central bank isn't counting on inflation having peaked in March. It is appropriate, in my view, these are the words of Powell, it is appropriate, in my view, to be moving a little more quickly, Powell said, putting a 50 basis points rate hike on the table for the Fed's meeting early next month and leaving the door open to more outsized moves in the months ahead. And on that day, the US stocks closed sharply lower after his remarks, and all three major benchmarks extended losses Friday, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average booking its largest daily percentage drop since late October 2020. Investors are grappling with the very strong forces in the market, according to the Stephen Violin, a portfolio manager at FL Putnam Investment Management CO. And another thing that, according to Bank of America, investors just pulled a massive 17.5 billion out of global equities. And just to give you the numbers, on Friday, Dow Jones dropped. All three major indices, the U.S. indices, dropped almost 3%. So Dow Jones dropped 2.82%. S&P's was down 2.77, and the Nasdaq was down 2.55. And they finished the week with losses. And for Dow Jones was the fourth week in losses, and S&P's and Nasdaq was the third week of losses. Just to show you that what's important and what's really spooking the market. And we spoke about in our last meeting that the Powell was about to speak in the upcoming week, and that was very, very important what investors were expecting to hear and how they reacted. Okay, so that's what happened Thursday and Friday. It was a nice sell-off. We'll be looking at the charts shortly. And another one, a short screenshot that I took also the former FANG. It was the names was changed a little bit because of the Facebook, but let's call it the FANG. Apple, I'm just gonna read it quick. Apple is the last FANG standing, and its earning report this coming week could go a long way toward determining if the stock market bounces back or slides even further. As bad as this year has been for the stock market, it's been even worse for the original FANGs. While S&P 500 has fallen 10.4% in the current year, 2022, Facebook parent Meta Platforms has slumped 45.3%. Amazon.com has dropped 13.4%. Netflix has tumbled 64.2%, and Google parent Alphabet has fallen 17.4%. The expanded, that's the new thing. FAA and MGS haven't done much better, with Microsoft falling 18.5% and only Apple down 8.9% in 2022, outperforming the S&P 500. Here you go, the 8.9, the S&Ps lost 10.4. So for all these big shot stocks, if you want to call them that way, Apple is the strongest, is the only one that is doing slightly better than S&Ps in general. Okay, so this is important information, because why is it important? This upcoming week, all these stocks actually reporting, and you can write it down for yourself. You can research it. I'm going to share with you the details. Microsoft and Google are opening with on the 26th, all of them reporting up to the market. So Microsoft and Google are reporting earnings on the 26th, Facebook reporting on the 27th, Apple, Amazon reporting on the 28th, also Intel reporting on the same day. So it's going to be very, very crucial week ahead of us, with the earnings coming out, and not just the earnings, but the big giants are reporting. So let's see what it brings us. I'm very curious. And also, as usual, I took the high impact economic calendar data that's coming out this week. Again, I suggest to all of you to spend some time and go and research for specific markets and countries that are really relevant to your trading. And here I just took the high impact. So we have durable goods on Tuesday from US. We have presidential elections, of course, on Sunday. It's the second round. And of course, that will be affecting the French market. I'm sure the outcome will be affecting it. We have a governor of Bank of Canada speaking on Monday. This was said already on Tuesday. Consumer price index from Australia on Wednesday. Interest rate decision from Bank of Japan. Very, very important. We'll be talking about Japanese yen today. We have GDP from US Friday. We have GDP from Germany. We have GDP from European Union, and on Saturday we have manufacturing and non-manufacturing PMI from China. So these are the numbers or the announcements that are coming out next week. Okay, let's switch to MT4 now, and we'll go through specific markets, and we'll start with the stocks. We had Johnson & Johnson reporting initially. The stock went up, and then Friday, as the market pulled in, it pulled in with it. And of course, the champion to the downside is Netflix. Okay, as we said, it lost tremendous amount percentage-wise, and after the gap down, the stock continues, and it looks like we are holding about 200. The low of Friday was 209.82. There's some analysts are saying that the stock has a way to go lower. The biggest issues, of course, they missed the earnings. The biggest issue they reported, I'm sure most of you that follow the stock research that they really the amount of customers subscribed is really shrinking, and they're expecting to lose another 2 million in the next quarter. So the stock could continue lower from here. Now, Netflix itself, they blame that multiple usage of the passwords, and they're trying to crack down of it. I'm really not sure how they're going to manage it if that's the real issue. Now, together with the stock and the sympathy of Netflix, Disney also went down, another streaming service. And I believe the CNN Plus, just they lived only for a month, they canceled it. So all the streaming services, it looks like they are having issues with customers. And I shared with my team last week, just on a simple logical note, if a regular American household have issues currently because of the inflation, because of the cost of energy and food and everything else, that would be logical. They would try to cut on things that are not really uh, life threatening or really important for their living. So that could be also an issue here, but that's just my thought. Okay, so these are the guys that acted last week. Also, Tesla had good earnings, gapped up on the earnings, but then it pulled in with the market. Friday really held, didn't break below Thursday's low, so it is holding over here. So let's see at the stocks that we said are reporting next week. We had Microsoft and Google reporting on the 26th, was said. So take a look at Microsoft on the weekly chart. We are really approaching the previous support. Again, this could be the level from which we moved, or it's really speculative. You can't really know exactly which level is the accurate one, but we'll be seeing the earnings and we'll be seeing how the stock reacts. And of course, the general situation, the market. If the market continues selling off, if the panic increases, that also can happen. The whole market will be pulled in, and all the leaders, including Microsoft, could be pulling in. And of course, the earnings will be a significant reason for one way or another of the stock moving. So that's Microsoft. Google broke pretty much from the previous support where we held here, from which we start moving higher, and it might continue again. We don't know what the earnings are, and if we are continuing lower, we're going to slide possibly to around these levels, 2200, and it could be anything. Again, it depends what the earnings are, depends how market takes it, and in general condition of the market. Facebook reports on the 27th. And if you remember a few weeks back, I shared with you that some of the analysts said that 200 is really a steal. Apparently not. We came back to 200, just went through it. Friday, that's a weekly chart. Thursday and Friday, we just went through it, and it looks like we about to make the lower low here. And we did close actually below the initial drop from which we bounced. We are trading lower. So there's a potential. Facebook has a lot of issues, and the main issue, they're really losing a lot of revenue. And this is not the new news. We knew about the privacy changes of Apple for the Apple products, when the customers could use, if they want to get advertisement and so on, privacy rules were changed, and that really affected the bottom line of Facebook. Also, they are losing a lot of business to TikTok. TikTok becoming very, very popular, and a lot of investors are really concerned what's next for Facebook, and they're really not sure if Zuckerberg will be able to really find a solution to bring the stock back. So far, it's been really selling, and take a look after this pullback. We closed on Friday, or the week we closed below the initial stop, or really stop this drop, and potentially that opening technical space for continuation to the downside, and it could be anything. We could be stopping here, excuse me, around 170, or we can be sliding to these areas here around 140. Anything can happen. So that's Facebook reporting on 27th, as we said, and we have Apple and Amazon on 28th. Now, Apple is really holding, but Thursday and Friday really broke the previous support here from which we bounced. So technically speaking, we could go from here, we could go anywhere. Let's try to make up some levels here. So this is one level, that's around 157. We could slide here. And if we're not holding here, we can go to 150 area over here. Again, we're not going to speculate. We'll take one day at the time. And again, it depends on earnings. They could surprise us with something crazy, which I'm not sure that's going to happen. But again, I'm not here to predict it. And again, it depends, like I said, in general, if the sell-off the market continues and the market has a way to go, if it decides to go lower, if the traders really freaking out or scared of really aggressive policy of the Fed. And that's the main thing. So that's Apple. Like we said, if the stock continues lower, it might have a support here around 157 if it breaks through that. So 150 could be the next level. And again, all the levels that I share with you, this is not a suggestion. It's just for educational purposes. You should use your own judgment and make your own decisions, of course. That's important to remember. Amazon's been selling since we broke below this level, 31.75. We almost touched that level, and then 3 straight days down. Again, I'm repeating the same thing. It depends what the earnings are, what the market is doing in general. There is a possibility of it to sliding to 2,700. And if you take a look at the weekly chart, this is the series level around here between 26 and 2,700 area. So potentially we could go retest this space over here. And Intel is also reporting the same day on the 28th. And Intel has been having a hard time breaking above 48.5, 49, and then 2 days was sliding lower. And this is the around 44 area that could be support for Intel. And that's it pretty much with the stocks. Like I'm just going to repeat the Microsoft and Google on 26th of April are reporting, Facebook on 27, and Apple, Amazon, and Intel on the 28th. So those days, and all of it, it's after the market close. Let's move to indices, as we're already talking about equities. So we'll start with the US indices, and you can see how strong and aggressive the selling was. And if you take a look at the weekly chart, we are really approaching this level here that I mentioned. This was the initial stop on the weekly chart. After that, we had the consolidation and move higher. So this high over here is 42.3275. And if we break that level, we might continue sliding lower. And this is the S&Ps. NASDAQ is the weakest one. It's already past this level a while ago. And now we are on the way down to retest the initial support here that we had after the sell-off. And this is a very serious level here. As you could see, we've retested it a few times over here. So a low of 12,953. So let's say roughly 13,000. It's a very serious level. 12,900 to 1,300 to 13,000. It's a serious level of support. And if it fails this time, we might break through. And if we see closing on the daily chart below 13,000 or 12,950, that could possibly bring more sellers. And as you could see here on the daily chart, We had a serious testing over here. We had another test, the same level from which we really bounced nicely, and we're down now to retest again, 12,948 or 12,950 to be a round number. So that's in NASDAQ. And Dow Jones also, as you could see, this level, the current level which we broke on Friday, has been retested many times. Support, we broke, came right back, supported again, supported again, supported again, lots of action, broke through it, and now we're back below this level. And if we see possibly another day, maybe if we see a full candle below this level, that's a very bearish sign to potentially see continuation to the downside. So these are the US indices, and potentially we could be seeing continuation to the downside over here. And if you take a look on the weekly chart, we can go and retest the previous lows here. NASDAQ already did it. So this would be a third attempt at, as we said, 12,950. If we break below it, the weekly chart could accelerate selling pressure to the downside. So these are the US indices. China had a negative week. Also, as we said, this level 13,900, it was holding as a resistance, and then we just went lower. And funny enough, Friday was an up day for the Chinese index. Nikkei is after this failed attempt to break through the resistance, we had 2 days down and closed below the previous support over here. So continuation to the downside, it is possible, and we could possibly see continuation to the downside to retest this recent low on the daily chart, which is 26,240. That's on Nikkei. Nifty 50, funny index, I call it, has its own life pretty much, but it did pull in with the general move on the equities after this breakthrough to the upside. And European indices, as we said, Sunday is the second round of elections in France, and we will probably see some volatility here when the market opens. We really don't know the results until the results are known. So anything could happen there. Potentially downside as the global markets are selling off. FTSE had a drop after confirming the resistance. It was a triple top on the daily chart. This was the high. We couldn't break, and then we couldn't break again. I guess the buyers really ran out of patience, and of course, U.S. market pulled in, and we had a 2 days down on FTSE. Now, what's next on FTSE? We might continue seeing continuation to the downside again if the US indices continue lower. DAX also sell-off on Friday. It looks like we are making, if we break below this previous support here, there would be a lower low after making a lower high, so that could increase the downside pressure on the DAX. So in general, just to put it all together, the equity markets experiencing a lot of downside pressure. And of course, the main reason it's the US, and the speech of Powell just confirmed that they will be acting more aggressively. And investors, as we mentioned earlier, they pulled out a lot of money out of the market. And we have the earnings coming out for the big guys in the upcoming week, and we might see continuation to the downside. Let's move to commodities now, and we'll go to our usual suspects. Crude oil, after the initial sell-off, we are still holding this level over here, the low of the 19th of April, and there was 101.5. So as long as we're holding here, there's always a possibility of moving higher. And if we see the closure below this large candle, we might continue and look for some support at the lower levels. As of now, it's a normal correction that potentially could move higher and retest the previous highs. Natural gas, that was a crazy move higher for those of you that followed. And then we found, I guess, the top that was in the 18th. We went as high as 806, and then we just gravity took over. We just sold out, and it's logical that I think I mentioned last week also that we might come and see the level that was previously resistance. Now we need to find out if really if that's the next level. So that should be support now around 630 over here. So if we are holding 630 and start building up some consolidation here, we might continue to the upside. That's a possibility. If we break through it, we might search for another support. But considering this a fast move higher, it's a parabolic move, and reversal with the same speed, we might see that 630 will hold as a support here. There's a strong possibility. And again, it's all war related. I didn't want to mention it because it already it makes everybody really, really sad, but the war is still there. And the natural gas and oil and all the energies and commodity, a lot of commodities are still being affected, of course, and will be for a while. So again, 630 series level, we'll see if it holds to the downside. Now, heating oil, acting very interestingly here, where the move higher, where the sell-off, we had a lower high, and we kind of established support around 320 over here. And then after move higher, we're really holding here. So potentially it could move a continuation to the upside. After this move, the consolidation is happening here around this 395. So if we break through this resistance, we might see continuation, and the next step confirming again this high over here. That's also a possibility. Of course, the opposite could happen. We can drop to 363, even lower. But if you look at this move after breaking through the previous resistance here, easily no pullbacks, and there's a lot of accumulation happening. So that could most likely mean continuation to the upside. And as I said, the first checkpoints here around 418, and anything can happen. We can continue higher as well. So that's as far as energy. Metals, gold had a nice sell-off since the recent attempt to break through 2000, where the high of 1998. We didn't touch the 2000, and then we sold out. Now we're on the way to possibly retest the 1913 area right here. A lot of tails here, a lot of signs of support around 1913. And it looks like we back into the channel after this move over here. So about the $50 channel again between 1965 and 1913, 1915, back into the channel. Let's see what's next here. Palladium, it's a lot of actions over here. This level here, 2400, it's really a key level. As you could see, it was a resistance, then it played support, then again support, then we broke below, and now we're really glued to this level 2400. It's hard to say what's next. We might come and retest the 2212 kind of area based on this, or if we start closing about 2406, 2407, we could see another leg to the upside. And let's finish with soft commodities, corn and wheat, before we move to Forex. So corn, as we said, it broke out from this channel, had a nice attempt, which didn't last long. And it could be that now we're gonna retest the 780, see if that support holds, and might continue higher from that. If we break below and start having some actions on a daily chart closing below this level, we might re-enter again this channel, and that could be anything. We could be trading at the top of it, we could be moving lower, and if we are, the 22 is a support from which the whole move started. So that's corn. And wheat also tried to break through, couldn't, and now back to this level, 1045. Let's see what happens there. So that's it with commodities. Um, I think the last week, the dollar index was the champion. All the money pretty much went there. And let's start from that. Take a look. This is the daily chart. We had an attempt to break lower after this move, and then even another tail that took all the stops out, and then we closed higher. So there was a clear sign for the buyers to re-enter again to US index. And Friday, we made a higher high again. So if you take a look at the weekly chart, we are out of the woods, 10.5 we mentioned last week. We are on the way. We pretty much broke through all this noise over here. It could be anything. We could be continuing straight to here, 103, 104 area. Of course, it was going to be some profit taking, but there's a possibility we will continue to retest or reconfirm the highs. And I just want to see, when was it? That was the 2020, a year ago, 2 years ago, sorry. This was March, and this is the weekly chart. Yeah, 2 years ago, March 15, March 22nd. So we had a huge move higher and then a sell-off, and now we're on the way to possibly retest it. It's going to happen in a day, in a week, in a month. We don't know, but the upside pressure is very strong. As we know, it's a lot to do with the interest rate increase that's coming out early next month and continuation through the year. So that's the dollar. And let's take a look at the currency pairs. Let's take a look at the major ones. And I just want to bring the pound first. They had a very strong sell-off on the weekly. Friday was a very strong sell-off. Take a look. As we start breaking 1.3 psychological area, I guess it triggered a lot of stops here, and then the sellers came in, and it was a really aggressive sell-off. It's about 160, 170 pips move on the pound. It's been a while since we see this move. This was just something similar, but this one beats it. It's really strong move to the downside, and we closed at the lows. Euro dollar also got everybody excited here when we broke 109, but it really shook everybody out, and we below 108 again. Australian dollar also a strong sell-off. We're approaching a possible level of support around 0.72. Let's see if that works. And New Zealand dollar also a strong sell-off. After Thursday, we closed below this 0.6750. It accelerated, and it could be that we might hold this level over here. This was a long pin from which we made a higher high, so possibly we could really hold this level 0.6620 on New Zealand dollar. Now, a big one is Japanese yen, and I want to bring your attention to it. I speak about it every week, and if you remember, if you're really following Japanese yen for years, you remember that there was an issue when yen was super expensive, and Bank of Japan were trying to intervene on many occasions, trying to bring the value down, and they really failed. Now the opposite happens. As I mentioned a few weeks ago, this 122, 123 levels, they're pretty okay with it, but when we start getting out of proportion and moving higher now, it's really threatening Japan a lot, as the prices are going higher, and they're trying to intervene in the opposite direction now. They're trying to intervene to bring the yen higher now because it's been really low. So we might see in upcoming days and weeks the attempt of Bank of Japan to do something, and we might see a correction on this instrument here. As you could see, we made a high the recent high we made 129.40. That was a strong day here on the 19th. Then the next day we give away roughly, just visually I'm judging it, maybe 60% of the move, and then the following day we had an up day, and then again. So it could be that this recent high is the top. It could be that it's not, but it's very, very serious level here that we'll be watching, and we'll be watching, of course, for the action of the Central Bank of Japan, and see if they manage to do something to bring the yen higher. So we might see some correction now, and it's important to see the yen against the other currencies and take a look. The Australian dollar already reacted in a strong way. Euro, not yet. New Zealand dollar also reacted in a strong way. So yen is getting strong against the Australian and New Zealand more than others. Canadian dollar also reacted here. British pound, of course, the pound got really weak. So the move, it's really strong here. I think the strongest out of all. Swiss franc also starts moving to the downside. So it's important if the yen it's going to get some strong momentum. All these currencies could be a nice play against the yen. Of course, the dollar yen as well. But dollar is really strong, so it's holding the strongest against the yen currently. And the last one I want to bring up is the ZAR. I mentioned to you, we spoke a few weeks ago or a week ago, that 14.5, it's really holding. A lot of accumulation's been happening. So when the dollar makes a nice move higher, this could really explode, and it did happen here. So it was a nice move for whoever had the patience and calculated its risk right. This was a very nice play over here. It took time, but played out very nicely. Now, what could happen here? The 15.5, there was a resistance here, as you could see. So we might pull in again and retest it, and we might continue high over here. And if we come below it again, below 15.5 and start closing, we might see a nice correction to the downside, because ZAR has been really acting weird. Really don't know much what's really was supporting it here against the dollar, but initially, eventually, it just give up, and the instrument just move high here. So we'll be watching ZAR in the upcoming days as well. So again, just to summarize the Forex world, the dollar is getting strength. Major currencies sold out, especially pound sold out strongly. Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, euro as well. So we'll be watching next developments with the dollar index and see how other currencies are acting against the dollar. And let's finish with Bitcoin. It looks like Bitcoin is really moving together with the equity markets. It's just the observation. As the market sold out, we came right back. We tried to break out here of 4,200. We failed. We're back at 39, 39 and a half, 40,000. So we are holding this 39 level, and we had between 48 and 39, as I mentioned to you, and then it looks like the ceiling is coming lower now, if you can say that, and the channel is getting tighter. So this was the spike of the 21st, and the high here was 22,936. So let's say to have a round number, 43,000, between 43 and 39. So it's a 4,000 channel now. It's getting tighter, and as you know from your experience, if you had enough, when the channel is getting tighter, a lot of pressure is building up. It's going to shoot out one way or in another. So we're not going to guess. We might break below 39, or we might break below, above 43 and be on the way high here. That's it pretty much with the technicals. And again, just to put it all together, well, it's a risk-off market for the past couple of days. A lot of panic coming from investors, including they pulling out the money and closing their trades. We might see continuation in this upcoming week. We have, of course, as we mentioned, the big names are reporting earnings. It's very important to see how market reacts to it, and if you trade those individual stocks, of course you will be watching it, and in general to see for the mood of the market, it's very important how those numbers are coming out and how the market reacts to it. Dollar continuing to be strong, and I want to thank everyone for attending the webinar. You can put your likes on YouTube. You can sign up for the channel so you get updates. And I want to wish everyone a continuation of the great weekend and a successful week. All the best. We'll be back next week. Take care.